Welcome. I'm Dr. Ricardo Whyte, and I'm an addiction psychiatrist down here in Southern California, where I am a medical director at one of the local chemical dependency units. And in the earlier segment, we started off by talking about the first dimension of purpose. And if you haven't seen that, you want to go to that video, because this video will make a lot more sense if you first expose yourself to that, so that you'll know the first dimension of your purpose. But here now, we're going to talk about the second dimension of your purpose. We highlighted the fact that, it's so easy to not recognize that the very grind that you are experiencing can contribute to preparing you for the destiny that is waiting for you. Also, sometimes when people experience injustice, they're tempted to lose hope. And lastly, sometimes people do not behave like they're on camera. And it would be so helpful if people behaved as if they would be so proud to sit with God and review how it is that they've been behaving. Deliver your best performance. But now we want to talk about the second dimension of purpose. And the second dimension of purpose is from talent to skill, distilling your talent into skill. Do you remember when we were kids and we were silly enough to share with some people what our dreams were? Do you remember that? And it was a mistake because they crushed it. They were like, you can't do that. You'd never be able to do that. You got to choose something else. And unfortunately for some of us, we experienced that so much, we have forgotten to dream. Well, it's time to start dreaming again. It's time to remember that each and every one of us have been entrusted with a talent. If I were to ask you, some people, they care about the hippopotamus. That's their obsession. They just want to know everything they possibly can about the hippopotamus, and they have some magical way of taking care of the hippopotamus. Other people, they love a given sport. They live to play the game of basketball, and you can see that that's their natural born talent. Other people, it's they love to read, and they love a given discipline. But we've all been entrusted with a talent, something that we are passionate about. But my friends, it can't stay at the level of talent. Once you identify your talent, you have the responsibility of distilling it into skill. It's your job to not leave it just rude and undeveloped, but for you to cultivate it, for you to distill it into skill. I remember in college where we would have labs because I was a biochemistry major, and we would have to have labs. And can I just be honest, I hated labs, because why were labs always on like the most beautiful afternoon? Oh my goodness. And you're stuck in lab, man. It was such a pain. But you'd get this drawer full of stuff, right? And in the drawer, there would be this one item called the crucible. Crucible, it's just a little it's like porcelain, and it's got this little top on it. And you'd read the instructions to the lab, and it would tell you, you got to take that compound, right? And you got to put it in the crucible, and you have to apply heat. Now, why do you have to do that? Because the compound needs to have you cook off the impurities. And why was that a big deal? Well, I just mentioned it'd be a beautiful day out, right? So once in a while, you would rush the cooking process, right? Be like, let's just get to it. But then when you combine the compound with the other reagent, guess what? No reaction. And you know that little time you thought you saved? Now you got to start all the way back over from scratch, because the experience in the crucible cannot be rushed. Cannot be rushed. It has a function. And some of us are in a crucible. Some of us are in this place where our talent is being developed. And it can be so frustrating because if you're playing the piano, you want to be a master pianist. Of course, you want to rush to that. If you're a medical student, you're longing to rush to become the attending and not have anybody ordering you around. We always want to rush through the training process. But that crucible is so important so that after it's done what it's supposed to, when you are placed in that place of destiny, when you are placed in that spot that you've been working towards, you will be able to react. You will be able to deliver that performance that you were designed to give. It's not only practice, but it's perfect practice and perfect practice over time. So it's not just wasting time in the crucible. In this situation, the heat is the discipline of making sure that that practice is actually perfect. That practice is actually distilling the talent into skills. So you're making sure that you're getting appropriate feedback. You're making sure that you actually have mentors that are performing at the level that you're aspiring to one day achieve. But the idea being, you need like 10,000 hours of perfect practice in order for your talent to be developed to the level of skill where you can start talking about mastery. So please don't miss the importance of not just practice, but perfect practice and the appropriate amount of time. In the first video, we talked about the first dimension of purpose is your path. Now in this second video, we mentioned the second dimension of purpose is distilling talent into skill. Now we want to talk about the third dimension of your purpose in the third video. Even though now you know the significance of your path and you understand the importance of talent and skill, don't you get the sense that we all are here for something great, for something grand? Well, in that third video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is that grand purpose that each of us is called to in an amazing way. So I want you to make sure that you go back and watch the first two videos if you have not done that, and start journaling about what was your talent. What was it that you felt like, hey man, this was my purpose. This was a talent. This was something I loved. This is something I had patience with that others did not. If you haven't downloaded my wholeness grid, make sure you do that as well. And I want you to share this. I want you to like this. Please leave a comment. Help me understand what was the most helpful part of this to you. And I look forward to seeing you in the third video, okay? So distill that talent into skill. Until next time, comment below. I look forward to reading your comments.